Hello, it's Marie of Historical Belle, and today I'm going to show you how I trimmed my 18th century cap. The pattern I used from Burnley and Towbridge was wonderful, and it had so much historical evidence and so many historical examples of this 18th century wired cap. And one of the ways, they didn't have like exact instructions on how to trim it. They had this wonderful long list of portraits that featured the wired cap that you could go and look at and research yourself and then decide exactly how you want to trim it. And that way everyone's cap isn't trimmed the same, because all of these caps here, they're all trimmed differently. So I think that's fantastic. Now, this last portrait here, the portrait of Lady Mary Fox, was one of my favorites, and I loved how she trimmed her cap. And that was the main portrait that I drew my inspiration from when I was trying to decide how to trim my cap. I have this very pretty thin lace trim here that I was sent, and it's so lovely. I don't know necessarily how it was made, but it reminds me a lot of bobbin lace in the quality and texture. But I don't know if I can actually call it that, because I'm not actually sure how it was made, but it looks a lot like bobbin lace to me. And it's very fine and it's very small, and I'm going to put that around the edges of the cap. So here you can see I am starting to attach the lace to the edges of the cap, and I'm actually attaching this right where I attached made like the little hem for the wire channel, and I'm putting that lace right on top of where that seam was for that channel, which works really well, because then it kind of disguises that. And not that it looked bad in the first place, but it just looks even better now, and I like it better like this. I'm attaching it with really wide running stitches, almost like basting stitches, because, and in the pattern instructions it says this, to trim it in such a way where you can remove the trimming to launder the cap. Or a lot of times people would restyle and they would retrim their clothing to spruce it up, to make it new without redoing the entire outfit, which is something that I feel like we have lost the art of in our modern day world. I was sent 2 widths of ribbon for this project. The smaller one of the two is 1 1/4 inches wide, and the larger is 2 inches wide. The next step was to find some thread that perfectly matched my ribbon. So, to further trim my cap, I decided to do some ruching. So a ruche is a gathered ruffle or pleat of fabric used for trimming or decorating of garments. So here I am just doing a double folded over hem and doing a running stitch up and down, and then gathering it, tying it off, cutting the loose ends of my thread. And then I decided that I wanted my little ruched puffs to be about 2 inches long. I thought that was a good size for the cap. And then I did the same thing over and over and over again, just, some running stitches through, pulling that thread, gathering it, tying it off, cutting the loose ends. And I did that many, many times. So I had done that ruching many times, and then I had this really pretty poofed ribbon, and now I had to see how much more poofs did I need. So here I am measuring it around the cap. I am very close. I was trying to decide, do I need 1 or 2 more poofs to complete this? And then I decided I believe I only need one more poof. So here I am attaching that ribbon to the headband of the cap, so that right there, the base of the cap between the crown and the beautiful edge there. I didn't secure it that well because you just saw me go through and secure the ruches, so those were already secured. I just had to secure the ruches to the cap, and I want it to be to a point where I could take it off to launder it, or if I wanted to change out the style, I could do so fairly easily. So I'm really just putting a couple of quick stitches, just a couple tacking stitches really at each ruche, so where each ruche is connected to the cap, which might be a few more than needed, but I also don't want this to fall off, so having to play that line between security and making it easily removable. I rather have a little bit more work to do and for it to stay and to look nice. So I didn't actually, the way I spread the ribbon out, I wanted to make sure it had room to breathe on the cap, so I didn't pull the ruches tight. I made sure that when I tacked them on, that they had a little poof to them, a little life, a little oomph, as I connected them to the headband, so that they would stand up a little bit. I made sure when I had to pull them out to kind of fan the fabric to make sure it was being its best. So now that the ruches are done, comes the next part of the trimming. So I used the wide ribbon while doing the ruches, and now I'm going to use the smaller ribbon, the 1 1/4 inches ribbon, to create a bow. But what type of bow, do you ask? Well, it is a very 18th century crisscrossy bow thing, and I went to my American Duchess 18th century dressmaking book because they had instructions on how to do it. So I needed 6 inches of the smaller ribbon, which I am cutting out here. I had a nice little 6-inch ruler, which was the absolutely perfect length for that. And now I'm sewing each 6 inches of ribbon together. So just folding that 6 inch is into a loop. So it'll be 3 inches once folded over, and then just doing a little running stitch to make it a loop. And now I pressed each of these loops flat with an iron. You are then to pinch the back of the loop of ribbon that you have just made and to do a few whip stitches to gather it in the middle, or to keep that pinch in the middle. And then you press it flat again. is now time to crisscross these little bows that I have made so that they look like an X. And then you tack them together. I then place that little bow, that little crisscrossy bow, into the center front of the cap to be its crowning gem, the focal point, if you will. I honestly think it took me almost as long to trim this cap as it did to make it, which says a lot about the trimming process and the trim and the time that decorating goes into garments, not just the creation of the garments themselves. But it is done! It's so pretty! I love it! Honestly, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I love the ruching this bow. This is the first time I've ever done a bow like that, but it seems very 18th century. It feels like almost all hats had something like that in the 18th century. But yeah, I really liked it. It still looks like my little angel wing cap, even with all this beautiful lace and ribbon on it. And now I just need an event to wear it to, or maybe I'll just wear it around my house. Thank you so much for coming along on this project journey with me. It has been quite the ride. Thank you so much to Burnley and Turbridge for giving me the materials and pattern and knowledge with their YouTube channel to make this cap. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I am so excited to add this 18th century wired cap to my 18th century wardrobe and hope to wear it for a very long time to come. In case you missed it, I will link the first 2 videos in this project series below in the description box. And until next time, happy sewing!